A curious lion cub falls into a deep mud pit, instantly shattering the peaceful morning. The mud, deep and thick, immediately began to close around the small paws. A piercing, terrified cry shot through the savannah. In an instant, the lioness and the majestic male lion were beside the rim of the crude, man-made hole. The lioness roared, a sound of pure, unadulterated fear, her claws tearing uselessly at the soft edges. The male lion, normally the picture of power, circled frantically, his massive paws only causing small, unstable chunks of earth to crumble down onto the struggling lion cub. They quickly realized their immense strength was utterly useless. Any attempt to reach their lion cub only threatened to send them plummeting into the deadly slurry as well. The lion cub's cries grew weaker, smothered by the cold, heavy mud that was now threatening to consume its entire head. The realization of the trap's deadly nature brought the lioness to a point of paralyzing despair. But their panic was about to morph into something even more profound. A desperate, unimaginable gamble that would test the very limits of trust between predator and man. Ranger Ethan was deep into his routine patrol, focused on tracking local herds and noting water levels, when he was suddenly confronted by two immense, agitated predators. He brought his vehicle to a slow, cautious stop, his heart rate spiking. The lioness and male lion stood directly in his path, their mouths open, but the ensuing roars carried anguish, not aggression. It was a bizarre, unnatural tableau. Ethan immediately recognized the danger. Two adult lions, highly stressed, were a lethal force. Yet, as he watched their movements, he realized their posture wasn't defensive or territorial. It was imploring. They began pacing, agitated, and roaring, but their focus wasn't on him. It was a restless, kinetic fear. The lioness would take a few quick steps toward Ethan's Jeep, then spin around and run a short distance away, looking back repeatedly. The male lion stood his ground, letting out deep, frustrated growls that seemed directed at his plight more than at Ethan. Ethan, relying on his years of experience reading animal behavior, was trying to compute the unbelievable message. He knew the sheer danger of two agitated lions inches from his vehicle. A step too close, a moment of misunderstanding, and he was prey. Yet, as he looked at the sheer terror in the male lion's eyes, the raw, naked desperation of a parent, a gut feeling told him this was different. He saw the frantic, non-threatening nature of their appeal, realizing they were actively trying to communicate. They were overcoming their predatory instincts and the innate, generational fear of humans to appeal to him. This necessity had stripped away all conventional rules of engagement, forcing a pure, raw communication of urgent need. They were begging him to follow. But what if the lions were just baiting him? What if this was a coordinated, cunning lure to draw him into an ambush? The tension was almost unbearable as he sat there, torn between the professional risk and the unmistakable plea of the parents. This unexpected challenge tested his courage more than any aggressive standoff ever had. The agonizing slowness of his decision was necessary, but every second felt like a betrayal of the lion cub he hadn't even seen yet. He had to choose to trust them. He carefully started the engine again, keeping his movements slow and predictable, and began to follow the parents. With a deep breath and a silent prayer, Ethan followed their desperate lead, unaware of the terrifying, sucking sight that awaited him at the bottom of a simple, man-made trap. The trail was short but fraught with peril. The lioness and male lion led Ethan directly to the edge of a newly dug hole. A settlement pit, perhaps, or an abandoned excavation, filled with thick, rain-soaked mud. Ethan instantly saw the grim reality. The exhausted lion cub was deep in the pit, barely keeping its head above the muddy slurries. Its cries were now weak, raspy gurgles. Time, Ethan knew, was running out. He immediately retrieved a wide wooden plank from his vehicle, a critical piece of equipment used for crossing soft ground, and used it to create a stable, temporary bridge over the slick, unstable earth. The plan was simple, but required surgical precision. He had to distribute his weight to prevent sinking, secure a hold on the lion cub, and pull it against the tremendous hydrostatic pressure of the mud. This mud wasn't quicksand, but its density and viscosity meant it would quickly suck the life and strength out of any creature trapped within it, stressing the cub's small body far beyond its capacity. This was the factual danger driving the narrative. The science of the trap was as deadly as any predator. The lioness and male lion stood directly at the pit's edge, their bodies coiled in protective readiness. Their roars had now shifted, turning into a mixture of fear, impatience, and protective aggression directed at the pit, but not at Ethan. He could feel the heat of their breath, smell the wild scent of their anxiety. This was the methodical, tension-building core of the rescue. Ethan's focus was on the precise placement of the plank, his low stance, his every movement a meditation on control. The emotional perspective was the sustained, high-tension watch from the parents, who were held back only by the faint hope that Ethan represented. The plank creaked precariously under Ethan's weight, and he realized he was still a foot short of safely reaching the cub. He knew the mud was too deep to stand in. He had to execute a lean-in grab maneuver that put 90% of his body weight over the unstable edge. This was the open loop. He was exposed, vulnerable, and the smallest miscalculation meant disaster for them both. Could the small lion cub hold on just a few seconds longer? The tension was compounded by the terrifying thought. What if the plank snapped under the pressure? He pushed that fear aside, focusing on the small, whimpering lion cub. He knew he couldn't wait another moment. The lion cub was slipping again. The time for strategy was over. It was time for the riskiest, most vulnerable reach of his life. A move that depended entirely on the continued, fragile trust of two wild hearts. Ethan committed to the final, desperate act. He knelt on the far end of the plank, leaning far over the pit's edge, his arms outstretched toward the terrified, failing lion cub. He could feel the suction of the mud pulling at the air itself. The sight was the terrifying visual climax. The ranger, exposed and vulnerable, reaching toward the struggling young life, while the powerful lioness and male lion roared loudly just feet behind him, their massive forms filling his periphery. He managed to secure a grip on the lion cub's scruff. The effort required to pull it free was immense. The thick, cold mud resisted with a malevolent, powerful suction. He strained against the earth, his muscles screaming under the pressure, pulling the small, slick, exhausted body against the tremendous force. The parent lion's roars intensified, their impatience and fear boiling over, but they remained rooted in place, held captive by their trust in this stranger. Finally, with a loud, sucking sound, the lion cub was pulled free. Ethan quickly retreated onto the solid ground, placing the small, shivering cub just out of his immediate reach. The immediate danger was over, but the climax of the emotional drama was yet to come. The lion cub lay still for a moment, then gasped, a raspy cough escaping its chest as it drew a clean breath. The fear in Ethan's heart was immediately replaced by immense, flooding relief. Now, he braced for the pattern interruption, the moment when a lion's protective instincts would supersede their gratitude. The expected reaction was aggression or a possessive snarl to reclaim their young. Ethan slowly backed away, hands open, waiting for the inevitable charge. But the twist was powerful. The two large predators, seeing their lion cubs safe, did not lunge at him. Instead, the lioness let out a soft, low sound that was not a roar of aggression, but a sigh of overwhelming relief. She rushed forward and nudged the lion cub gently, checking for injury, her focus entirely on her young. The male lion stood over them, his guttural breathing now slowing, the tension visibly draining from his massive shoulders. They momentarily ignored Ethan, a silent, powerful acknowledgement of his service that defied their very nature. Ethan realized he had just witnessed a raw expression of gratitude and relief that transcended the food chain. With the small lion cub safe and reunited with its parents, the immediate drama was over. But the most profound part of the entire encounter, the silent lesson learned, was just beginning. The lion cub lay safely on the grass, slick with mud, weak but alive. The lioness immediately began the meticulous work of restoration, covering the cub with warm, vigorous licks, her tongue clearing the thick mud from its fur. The lion cub nestled into her, secured by the familiar warmth and comforting scent of its mother. Ethan sat back on the edge of the embankment, exhausted, his skin streaked with mud, allowing the family the privacy of this intimate, powerful moment. He observed the scene from a safe distance, recognizing that he was a temporary agent of fate, his role now complete. This moment was not about strength, but about trust and empathy. The lioness and male lion had made a choice that defied millions of years of predatory instinct. They chose hope and survival through an enemy. Ethan's willingness to risk everything and the lion's astonishing willingness to trust him created a necessary moment of cross-species cooperation. This emotional payoff reinforced the idea that a parent's love and the need to survive are universal forces that transcend the food chain. The core message was clear: empathy is the most powerful survival tool. Finally, the lioness finished her cleaning, nudging the lion cub to its feet. It staggered, but it stood, before guiding their lion cub gently away. The lioness turned back and looked directly at Ethan. She held his gaze for a long, quiet moment, her amber eyes conveying an undeniable, powerful recognition. The male lion stood beside her, his head held high, before they both turned and melted back into the tall grass, their two massive forms moving side by side, shadowing their precious young one. The emotional payoff was complete, a fragile life saved and an unspoken bond forged in a moment of desperation. Ethan remained breathless, knowing this profound memory would be the most defining moment of his career. This video is a powerful reminder that every creature, no matter how wild, depends on compassion. If you believe in the power of empathy, subscribe to our channel right now. It's free, and it helps us share more stories like this one. And before you go, click on the video on your screen now to see the incredible, shocking aftermath of another lion cub rescue, where the lioness gave the ranger a gift he'll never forget. Thank you for watching, and remember to always choose kindness.